Actually, what an amazing intro. I was talking to my friend Priya in London the other day, and I told her that I was going to be giving this talk. And she said, just be amazing. Because if you're not amazing, you're going to let everyone down. So no pressure. Don't you think it's really fun that they put the networking person right before the mingle event? So we've had a fantastic day talking about innovations and the innovation process and spreading your ideas. But the thing is that innovation is often talked about in terms of the technical aspects and the inventions, the gadgets, the tools. But what I burn for, since we're talking about passions, is the personal side of things. Because just as Stephen Johnson discussed right now, getting good ideas to happen and spreading them requires an exchange between people. You have to exchange knowledge between people. So just like in the coffee houses of the Enlightenment and the coffee houses that we've just been discussing, now that we'd like to have in our own organizations, chatting is where innovations start to happen. Not in the lab. In the lab is where you take out the tools for inventions, the basics for it. But the true innovation starts around the coffee machine, around talking to people, around the back of an envelope. The exchange of ideas requires talking to people. Because if you just sit in your lab on your own, the quality of your inventions, the quality of your innovations will be much, much poorer than if you'd shared your initial ideas with people and developed them through a process of exchange, communicate with others. The idea of lone geniuses like Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, and the Eureka moment is not usually how innovation happens. So we've been talking about innovation a lot today, but let's take a moment to define it. Because to be honest, I didn't really understand what the difference between an innovation and an invention was until quite recently. So what is an innovation? One strict definition is an invention that you take to the market, make it viable, and spread it. If you don't achieve this, your idea will stay as an invention at the patent office. Show of hands. Does anyone know what this is?
Per machine.
Per machine. Actually, really close. Not a single person. Not a single person.
Is it not a hair dryer or a hair curler machine?
Close, close. What this is, I'm going to tell you in a second, is something that was invented in the 1950s by a man called John Boakes. And it's a hair trimmer. So the idea here is that you stick this machine on your head, your hair gets sucked up into it, and it meets a series of little electric coils that go around and burn the ends off the ends of your hair. Really? And it gets better. You can also adjust the level of it. Great idea. The catch was that you could get electrocuted. So what can we learn from this? Communication is critical for innovation. Communication is critical for innovation. Because if John Boakes had gone out there and started talking to people and telling them about his ideas, instead of sitting in his lab in his basement at home and fiddling with this thing, he would have realized that no sane person would put their head into this. He would have saved himself and the patent office a lot of work. And the thing is that today, he would have had so many more people to get that input from. According to the journal Science, 90% of all scientists throughout history are alive and working today. 90% of everyone throughout history who calls himself a scientist is alive and working today. Isn't that amazing if you think about that? I mean, throughout history. And within the last 18 months, the research output has been to a degree that exceeds all of the research output before that. Amazing. Think of the volume of data and the sheer number of people the ideas behind that data represent. But the thing is, you don't just sit down with any one of these random people that you don't know and start exchanging your ideas. You just don't do that. You just don't start sitting down and telling about your baby with someone who you don't have some form of relationship with. Do you know what I mean? You can sit down with someone who you actually relate to, someone you trust. The challenge for knowledge exchange is building trust. But how do you build trust to tap into this amazing source of information? Well, the trend today to tap into this amazing sea of ideas is to build online communities and promote crowdsourcing and open innovation and so on. But the thing is, in our digital stressed world, people are tending to get caught up in communicating and building their relationships using this. How many of you have one of these in your pocket? How many of you, when you're in the middle of talking to somebody and your device rings, cuts off your conversation and just think about it? Think about it. We just do it now, don't we? We don't say, excuse me. We just do it. It happens a lot. People are communicating and building their relationships through SMS, email, social media. But the thing is that people do collaborations with people, not a LinkedIn connection. The Kelton Fascination Study found that 81% of us have the most fascinating conversations in person, not online. In-person contact is still the most compelling form, and it drives the deepest relationships. You can stay sitting with the people you already know. Sure, you trust them, but your pool of ideas will be limited. And another way to expand the circle of trust is to physically gather people at networking events. I recently held the keynote for a conference for nurses working throughout the Nordic region on a rare form of neuroendocrine cancer called NET. But up until recently, there was virtually no communication between the nurses who were working in these countries, until a major pharmaceutical company that develops treatments for this cancer came up with the fantastic idea of bringing them together once a year in a Nordic nurse forum. The only time these nurses would get together in such a way, and what they got out of this was fantastic. They could compare notes about what are the best treatments for my patient. Am I giving my patient the best treatment? That's a great idea. I didn't think about that. I'm going to try that back when I get to the hospital. They got to stay abreast of what the latest drugs are. And key here is they got to develop lifelines in an otherwise isolated work environment. And what the pharma company got is a free focus group to keep on innovating their products, and local knowledge for what was happening in the specific clinical situations in these different countries. It was beautiful. And nowadays, the result of this has been that you have an alignment of nursing procedures throughout the Nordic region in this context for the benefit of patients. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's real ROI for what benefits the person. Now, the clinics where these nurses come from endorse this action, of course, and they encourage it. But the key here is that the actual people who are attending these events, the actual nurses who are there on the ground talking to each other, must seize the opportunity. And the outcome of these events is utterly dependent on how tightly these nurses seize this opportunity and what kind of relationships they make out of it. And this is where I come in. This is what I burn for. How to build relationships from networking events. The thing is, many people go to networking events and they think that the point of it is to walk around and shake hands with as many people as possible. Hello. And come home with their pockets stuffed with business cards, and it was great. Have you seen how many people I met? Fantastic. And the boss asks, so how did it go? Look. That's great if you collect business cards. But not necessarily if you're out to create relationships. The art of networking is about building relationships. When we go into a room full of people, like here, and how we're going to be in the World Cafe after, you have an opportunity to meet lots of people and to plant seeds of relationships that you can return to later and develop on for a future meeting. And you do this by an active process. Of course, some people aren't compatible, and that's life. But the thing is that people are closed houses with shut doors, and what you're wanting to do is to stick your foot in the door so that you can come back later. You don't have to knock on it. You just enter. And of course, how that ties in with ideas having sex, I'll leave for discussion. The thing is, I've been to countless networking events, and I meet so many amazingly talented people who have fantastic things to give. But the thing is that the idea of walking up to someone that they don't know, stretching out their hand and saying, "Hi, I'm Mary Rose," terrifies them. So if they come at all, they stay talking to the few people that they know. But that's not the point of networking. Don't waste these opportunities. So to drive innovation, we need to meet others. And we've been doing this a little bit today, but to demonstrate this, I want you to do it again. I want you to turn around and shake hands with the person sitting right behind you. Look what just happened here. Look what just happened here. Did you feel the dynamic in the room change? And did you notice one other thing? What did I tell you to do? I told you to shake hands with the person behind you. But you also started talking. Physical contact gets people talking. It's beautiful. Did you see how fast it was? Did you feel the dynamic in the room change? So let me share with you just a few of the tricks that I use to maximize these opportunities. And it starts with preparation before the event, focus during the event, after the event, following up. So before the event, know what you want to get out of it. Be strategic about this. Know what you want to get out of it. Know what your goal is. Get hold of the participant list and research the people that you want to meet. And a great way to do this is to use LinkedIn and Twitter and different forms of online media just to get started interacting with people before you get in. Just show of hands, how many people are on LinkedIn? Everybody. How many people actively use LinkedIn? All right, that's about 10%. Think about that. What is interesting is that life science usage has massively increased on LinkedIn and Twitter. It's incredible. So it's a fantastic tool for you to use. So during the event, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to strengthen your existing relationships, meet new people, and to get people to buy your ideas. Because isn't that the whole point of this? Isn't that why we publish our data? To get people to buy our ideas? Because the thing is that we're sitting on all this information, but it's no longer enough to sit on great information. Information is no longer power. Power is your ability to fascinate others. Remember, you're in a room full of other people just as smart as you are. You have to fascinate others. What you want to do is to make people say, hey, look over here, look at me, listen to me. And according to a BBC report, you now have less than 10 seconds to do that. No pressure. Think about how you want to be remembered. Referrals are credible from the start. If a trusted friend starts telling you about someone, you transfer that trust to that person, even if it's someone who you've never heard of. Approach is critical here. Ask questions and listen. People love to talk about themselves. Use that fact. And if you're shy, the best way to get over it is to expose yourself to the environment that is giving you that problems that you're not comfortable in. According to Malcolm Gladwell, it takes 10,000 hours of practice to get great at something. So there's no time to lose. After the event, follow up. And do it within 24 hours before you fade it from memory. A great way to do this is to send a LinkedIn invitation. This is controversial, but it's a great way to speed up the process of building that initial link. And do it in such a way that you give value first and you have a call to action. Because just going back home from the event and typing up, "Hi Paul, it was lovely to meet you. If you need any help sometime, just give me a call." That is not fascinating. That is lame. A much more riveting way of communicating with someone with the initial contact after you've met them is to say, "Michael, I was just talking to Anna, who is our mutual contact, and she told me that I have to get hold of you right now because I've got a fantastic idea that's going to put your sales through the roof because I have this amazing device for cutting hair." Challenge your network and use it. You might have 2,000 names in your iPhone, but it's not a network if they don't answer the phone when you call. I challenge you to seize the opportunities that you have for building relationships. And right here, right now, you have a filtered group of people which are super interested in innovation. Your move. Thank you very much.